for IIS. Really easy. It's a 3-step process. And whoop, your SD-WAN fabric is inside the cloud. And the second one I want to show you is that if I have this colo as an anchor point, if you remember that I mentioned that a colo could be one of the value-added services that you as a partner can sell to the customer. So if a colo becomes that value-added service, and you say, great, you could be accessing the cloud directly, but guess what? I'll give you this awesome way to connect into the cloud if you come to my colo before you go just straight into the internet. And at the colo, I can give you fast internet. At the colo, I can give you private interconnects. So I can give you more kind of a richer services at the colo. Right? So it's kind of upselling that SD-WAN story in there. So this is the case, is that the colo now plays that role of value-added services, and I get to the IIS from the colo, and I get to the internet from the colo. And guess what happens? If for some reason the colo gets congested, then it influences both. Right? So I want to preserve some of the critical applications. So what I want to do is I want to offload the traffic that is less critical into the direct internet access from the branch. And again, I'm not showing security in here, but actually I'm showing security. But security is embedded everywhere. It's embedded at the colo. It's embedded at the DIA connections. It's everywhere. So it's a 2-part story. How do I enable cloud onboarding, and how do I steer the traffic, critical traffic, through the colo and offload the other one around? All right, let me show you. Okay, so that's my vManage. Okay, here on top, I have this icon of the cloud. So if I click on it, it says I have the cloud on-ramp for SaaS, and I have the cloud on-ramp for IIS. So I click the IIS. Okay, now the system says, great, let's get configuring. Which cloud do you want to connect to? Do you want to connect to AWS, or do you want to connect to Azure? I'll say I want to connect to AWS. System says, great. Please provide credentials to log in. Okay, these are not the credentials. Hope it's copying. No, it's copying. Okay, so all of this would have been provided by the person who administers the AWS account or accounts at the customer to whoever administers the vManage. Hope it's going to work. All right. So see, I said it's a 3-step process. So I have to define, we call this transit or gateway. It's kind of interchangeable. So transit or gateway VPC, then host, then interconnect them together. Okay, so I choose which region do I want this gateway VPC to reside in. And I can have multiple of those, right? Depends on which region the host VPCs are. So if they are in US West, or if they're in Oregon, then I'll choose Oregon. If they are in RTP, then I'll choose that. And I don't have to have one gateway. We can have multiple gateways for scale out. Right? We didn't touch on that, but it's a completely horizontal scale out model. Right? So in this case, I'm going to choose US West 1. Okay. And I have to provide a VPC name. So I'll say my gateway. Which version I would like to deploy. You can see in here that we are mentioning CSRs. So again, this is not a shipping functionality yet. It's going to be shipping next week. So you can do CSR or VHCloud if your customer prefers the Tele operating system or XE SD-WAN operating system. It doesn't matter, it's the same functionality. So I'll just choose something. So it says, great, how much resources do you want to allocate to those routers? So I'll choose something. I need to have 2 licenses because what we're going to be doing, we're going to be pooling 2 virtual routers from AWS Marketplace and placing them inside the gateway VPC. So I need to have license for at least 2 routers. So in this case, I have 2. Okay. Continue. Now it says great, check marked on the gateway. Now I need to discover where the hosts are. So we can support multiple AWS accounts, which means you can have your AWS account and provide a value to the customer to say, I'm going to instantiate the gateway under my account, but I'm going to link to your host VPCs in your accounts. So one account could be for your HR. One account could be for your finance. One account can be for your point of sale systems. So in this case, there's multiple. We can have multiple. I'll do this one, and I'll say discover. That's great. These are all the VPCs where the hosts are, where the VMs are, that you can link to. So choose which ones do you want. Okay, so I'll choose all of them. Say next. Awesome. Last step, map between the 2. So I'll say I want to map these guys into this gateway, and I want them to reside in this VPN. Remember the segmentation story. I could have had, this is my HR resources. They are in VPN 1. So I'm going to map those host VPCs into VPN 1 on the gateway. So only hosts, only users in the remote offices that are in VPN 1 can access those. So it's an end-to-end isolation. That's it. This is the extent. When I click this button, I go on a coffee break. And when I come back, my gateway VPC is done. 2 routers are in it. IPsec tunnels have built into the host VPCs. BGP is running. OMP is redistributed. BGP is redistributed into OMP. I have direct connection from user to cloud. This is the extent of the work I had to do. Literally, 5 minutes work. Question? The question is this lab available? We are working on it. The complication here is that because it requires accounts. So if you have your SD-WAN lab and you have opened firewall ports because the router is in the AWS, the controllers could be on-prem. So you have to make sure that all the connectivity needs are there. But considering that you have that, all you need is you just need an AWS account. So we don't offer today this as part of dCloud. We're working on that. We really want to do that. But if you wanted to do this today, use your own setup, AWS account, which I think comes for free to begin with, and link it like that. So this is the extent. I'm not going to click the last save because it's going to take like, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 minutes until it executes. But it's all behind that. It's all API calls, all that logic to get executed. OK, so I'm going to quit that. And I'm going to show you the other one, which is OK, I'm not going to show you the other one. It's not running. But the idea behind it is that video was an example of a critical app. You most likely not running video to AWS. But in order for this to be visual, the video was chosen as kind of a business critical application. So what would have happened in here, we would have pushed the policy, and the policy would have matched on, we would have started a file download, kind of a massive one, that goes through the colo. It would have saturated the colo because we have some policers in that colo to make sure that we can saturate it. It would have saturated the colo. I would have pushed the policy through the vManage. And that policy would have offloaded the file download into DIA connection, and the video would have gone better, actually best, right? So the idea behind this is that how I can, if I'm using Colo as my sort of an upsell SD-WAN opportunity, I can manage through vManage policies to say, this is critical application, send it to the Colo, then to the cloud, or this is a non-critical application, let me offload that into the DIA. And again, Colo was an optional thing. You can have, in the previous example that I've shown, I've actually built direct connection into the cloud without passing through the Colo. So Colo is an optional element that you can have in IIS storage. I think that's all I had for you today, and I'm 2 minutes early. So if you have any questions, then that would be a good time to have those. Or you can ask me later.
Any questions that you want recorded?
Actually, it's not been recorded. I've asked. You can ask anything you want.
Some information.
You're going to give me a microphone? Okay.
Is some information on the Viptela website and not on the Cisco website?
Okay, so it's not Viptela.com site. It is, okay, you see this, sdwan-docs.cisco.com. That is where all of our Viptela documentation is hosted on. It's not on Viptela.com, even though if you go to Viptela.com, there's probably some link that redirects you there. But if you want direct access, then you go to sdwan-docs.cisco.com.
Perfect. Any other questions real fast?
All right. Thank you.
Perfect. Hey, guys, a couple of things real fast. Obviously, it's lunchtime. Those on WebEx, thank you so much. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow morning. For those guys on site, lunch, 12:15 to 1:15. And then we have